Hello, this is Leisha Bream with Journey to Greatness, 365 days to your best year yet. And today is May 6th. I am so excited about the way things are starting to turn around in our particular country, in the United States. There's still a lot of problems with coronavirus in India, and I believe still in Brazil. But very shortly in the United States, I believe we'll be back to our old normal. And I'm looking forward to that. From everything I'm hearing, by July 4th, we will be celebrating with friends. And what a celebration July 4th will be. But we need to go out and get our shots so that we do create that that herd immunity. And I'm really excited today because I'm looking forward to continuing to create my best year yet. And the last semester I did not go to school. I graduated in the winter, and I really missed school this semester. Although I've been really active at work and in a lot of other projects, I miss being in school. And I have always been a lifelong learner. But when I'm in school and I'm engaging with other students, whether old or young, with the professors, on a program that's streamlined and fascinating, I'm in seventh heaven, and that's just me. But I'm asking all of you that are listening today to keep your mind open and your heart open to learning. And it doesn't have to be like me where you're in a formal setting. It can be, if you're really disciplined, you can take online courses. My God, Udemy offers hundreds and maybe thousands of courses that when they have their sales are about maybe $15, $20. And there's other programs out there that offer courses on everything from how to train a dog to how to work through your calculus problems. To how to do a YouTube channel. I mean, it's all there at your fingertips for very low prices, but it's having that open mind, that intellectual curiosity that keeps us alive, that keeps that spark in our life. And they say that to know is to arrive, to ask questions is to embark on a quest. And, people whose lives are characterized by a question mark rather than a period, who look for learning opportunities everywhere they go, they're happier people, you guys. They're more creative. They enjoy better relationships. And the truth is that they do obtain higher levels of success in life because they're constantly learning and growing and developing. So to commit yourself to being a lifelong learner is fun, and it's really functional, and it has long-term effects that will benefit you as you get into your older years. So every person we meet, a student or a teacher, a friend or a stranger, they can teach us something. And I'll tell you a story about one of my professors. I don't know if he was angry at a family member or what, but this professor, I really liked him. He was about 40 years of age, and he got up in front of a class of about 65 people. And he went off on how he didn't like older people, he didn't appreciate them, and how he really didn't feel they had anything to offer. And being an older person, I really took offense to that. And I did speak up, and I said, you can learn about unconditional love from an infant, and you can learn the meaning of life from a person on their deathbed. So to label any group of individuals by the number next to their age is really pretty prejudiced and narrow-minded. And he did apologize later, and he really was one of my favorite professors. So it really hurt me to the core that he was saying this about older people. And I did find out later on that his prejudice or his frustration was with the people in his family. But I did remind him that he was influencing dozens and dozens of minds on a daily basis. And as a leader, he had a responsibility to not set young people up against older individuals because they're probably in their 20s, they were going to be working for somebody that could be 40, 50, 60 years of age. And if they went in with that kind of attitude, that would certainly be problematic at work. And he also reminded him that these 20-year-olds didn't look at him as a young person. In fact, they looked at him as an older person. So the very thing he was saying about older people being basically insignificant and not really contributing anything, he was basically saying that about himself to his audience, because his audience were all 18, 19, 20-year-olds, with the exception of a few of us that were older citizens. And we just have to be careful what we say. And I really believe that everybody has something to contribute to the whole, and especially us senior citizens. They've lived life. We can learn from their mistakes. We can learn from their successes. And we all need to have an open mind and be lifelong learners and be open to learning from everyone. You see, when we embrace the spirit of inquiry and curiosity, we're really embracing life. And just think about this for a minute, how wonderful it is that this life is an inexhaustible source of wonders. Really, how exciting to learn that the excitement of learning can last an entire lifetime. And it really does go beyond this. Sanjay Gupta has a wonderful book out called Keep Sharp. And he talks about how important it is to continue to strengthen your brain by going to school or taking some kind of courses to exercise the brain. And that more than older people will oftentimes take these courses where you're exercising the brain with puzzles or word puzzles, math puzzles, things like that. To really engage the brain in learning and staying sharp, you really need to be in a class where you're being tested and you're being challenged and you're having that engagement with other classmates. Sanjay Gupta says in his book, Keep Sharp, that classes offer a level of complexity that has long-term benefits. They not only employ cognitive skills such as a visual comprehension, short and long-term memory, attention to detail, and even math skills, but they often entail a social element with fellow classmates. Students in a classroom setting are interacting and communicating with others on a regular basis through lively conversation. And he goes on to say that doesn't mean taking a class has to be in a traditional academic setting or even entail acquiring another degree. It can simply be about learning new skills such as speaking a foreign language, learning how to cook or paint, or taking up a new musical instrument. You can study how to computer code, take salsa dancing, or write a novel. Whatever gets you out there and acquiring new knowledge and aptitudes. And you just have to make sure that it's something that you really enjoy. But this actually builds neurons in the brain. So it's strengthening your brain, just like if you were going to the gym and building muscles. And it doesn't matter how old you are, because if you're 40 and you're listening to this, and you're 30, by doing what I'm recommending, you're building your brain resiliency. And that's why, in all honesty, besides being a more interesting person, that's why lifelong learning is so important, so that you can live a fulfilling life. If you live to be 100, you want to be awake and aware of what's going on in your world. And so there's no guarantee that you're not going to end up with some form of dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that as you get into your older years. But it certainly is a preventative measure. And it's certainly, being a lifelong learner will certainly cause you to be a much more interesting person to yourself and for those that engage with you. So I hope I've given you something to think about. I'm very passionate about this. I would just feel dead inside if I didn't have the opportunity to continue to learn and grow and develop personally. In fact, my purpose right now is my own personal development. And I'm a single person. I don't have any children. My daughter's grown up. And I am thoroughly enjoying being my own personal project right now. So I encourage you to do the same thing. But that starts with A, loving yourself enough to do this. And then B, loving yourself enough to stretch yourself enough to continue to learn and develop and grow, and really doing it in somewhat of a structured setting so you're challenged. Now, I hope I've given you something to think about. I like to always end my podcast with a mindfulness meditation because I really believe that mindfulness is the way to becoming aware of who and what we are, what we have been, and where we are headed. And as soon as we become aware, well, we can make better choices. We can make better choices that serve us emotionally, intellectually, and then better choices as to where we're headed in our life. So today we're going to do a really fun mindfulness meditation, and it involves eating a piece of candy. Now, if you don't have a piece of candy, go pick yourself up a piece of fruit or something small that you can put in your mouth that you can enjoy and experience. But it's really fun to do with a little piece of candy, like maybe a Hershey's Kiss, something that's going to eventually melt down in your mouth. So let's go ahead and get what you need. Turn me off for a second and go grab that grape or a raisin or a piece of chocolate or even a nut. And let's get started. Okay, as always, please sit up straight. And in this case, we're going to pretend that we have a Hershey's Kiss. So today we're going to take some time to really focus on something we do a lot, and that's eating a piece of candy. We are going to go very slow and are going to try to notice things we don't normally notice. So if you've got that candy or whatever else it is that you may have, pick up that piece of food and look at it carefully. Is there anything you notice about the way it looks? Is it wrapped in foil, or is it just glaring at you naked? Place that piece of food into the palm of your hand. Notice its weight. Is it heavier or lighter than you expected it to be? Now, if there's a wrapper on this piece of food, unwrap it very slowly. And listen to the way it sounds as it's being unwrapped. Really focus on noticing things about the wrapper that you have never noticed before. And if this is something that's not in a wrapper, really notice how this piece of food feels in your hand. Is it soft? Is it crunchy? Does it have salt on it? Is it rough? Is it a rough texture? Now, if you had a wrapper on this piece of candy, look at the candy. Is there anything you notice about how it looks? How does it feel on your skin? Is it warm? Is it cold? Is this thing smooth? Soft? Now I want you to slowly put this piece of food into your mouth and really focus on how it tastes. What does the texture feel like? What does the flavor taste like? What did you notice about this Hershey's Kiss or this other piece of food that you have in your mouth that you've never noticed before? Now, as I said, you can do this mindfulness with a piece of candy. It's best to do it with a wrapper. Or if you don't have any of that in the house, you can do this with, like I said, a grape, a raisin, a nut, anything that you can hold in your hand and feel the weight of it, and then feel the texture of it in your mouth. But you need to go through that process of actually experiencing the way it looks, the way it feels, the texture in your mouth, how it tastes and how it finally breaks down, and the experience of actually swallowing the item. Each one of those steps, you need to feel it, experience it, because you're causing your mind to become more and more aware. Now, today, I hope I've given you something to think about. I hope if you're not already a lifelong learner, I hope you'll really consider it, because if you're a more mature person, if you are 40, 50, 60, 70, you want to be thinking about your brain health. And to be a lifelong learner and to commit to that, either by learning how to play the piano or taking ballroom dance classes or ballet or hip hop or anything that causes you to work your brain and your body at the same time, or take a calculus class at a community college, or take Spanish or French or Russian. Any language that you might want to take is going to cause you to work those neurons in your brain, and not only work them, but develop new neurons and synapses, the communication between the neurons. So I hope I've given you something to think about today. As always, remember to love yourself. Remember that if you love yourself, you're going to do right by you. You matter. But you need to embrace that before you take on anything else. And if you embrace loving yourself first, you're going to do the things you need to do to bring about your best year yet. And you'll help bring about the best year yet of everyone around you. You'll be a light that shines for everyone that comes into contact with you, because you're full of love. So have a beautiful day. I will talk to you again soon. Be bold, be brave, and always, always be your authentic self. Until we meet again.